Hello and welcome to the Peak Podcast. As always, my name is Kyle Nelson. I've got my good friend, co-host, and business partner, Mr. Eli Libby. What's going on, my man?
Doing great, man. Doing really good. I'm excited for this podcast. I've been looking forward and telling you about this one. And, the pre-chat that we did. I think it'll be fun. I love the fluidity of our pre-chat, and I think it's going to be the same thing on the podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited, dude.
It'll be good.
Excited to be here.
If you've never listened into the Peak Podcast, what we do is we have a great conversation with other coaches, entrepreneurs, business owners, and thought leaders about what that peak moment was in their life, when they really discovered what the next step was with their life, and whether it's a new business or anything really. Or typically, it's getting into coaching.
It is.
And I think our Rudir, the person we're having on today, is really going to have a really good combo.
100%.
Kind of tease us with a couple peak moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get two of them.
It's going to be good.
Two of them to talk about.
And besides that, we are the co-founders of Peak Fulfillment, where we help people go on self-guided solo retreats, where they really dive really deep and listen to that inner voice and really do some self-discovery, self-reflection, and vision crafting so they can get rid of the noise and fog and get some clarity in their life. But without further ado, let's bring in Rudir Krishtell. He is the CEO and Head Facilitator at Krishtel. What's going on, my man? Welcome to the Peak Podcast.
He's here.
Hey, Kyle. Thank you so much. Eli, good seeing you. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it looks really good. Ruda, where are you based out of again?
I'm in the Bay Area.
Got it. Okay, that's right. That's why Tahoe makes sense. Perfect. Have you been there for a while in the Bay?
12 years, I think, maybe coming on 13. Yeah. So it's been a while. I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area.
Sure.
So came out here about 12, 13 years ago. And I just say, bury me in Oakland. Like, just keep me here forever. So.
Right on, man. Right on.
Awesome.
You're from the Bay, kind of Bay area.
Yeah, North Bay, Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. We just spent some time there. So love it. Love Santa Rosa, love North Bay, all of it.
Right on, man. Well, hey, let's get this thing kicked off. I'm going to start with an icebreaker. I like to kind of kick it off.
I like it.
We're into February, so we're still kind of beginning of the year. What is a word that's going to kind of lead your year? If you were to pick one word that is your focus, your focal point of the year, what would that word be?
Yeah, I'd say two, growth and excitement.
Cool.
We're fired up to grow as an organization, and there's just a lot of excitement behind it. And so really just got a lot of energy as the year starts.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Right on, man. That's exciting.
You got a word, Eli?
I do. Commitment.
Love it.
Commitment. I started that one in December. That was the word I was going to come into, and I think we've done a pretty good job with it.
Heck yeah, we have.
What about you?
Self-empowerment. I did empower myself, man. That is my number one goal every day I wake up, is how can I show up for myself and empower myself.
Right on, man. Do it for others too.
Yes, sir.
You're doing a good job of that. Okay, let's get this thing kicked off a little bit more. So tell us a little bit more about your background and what you're currently working on, and maybe a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, certainly. I practiced law for about 15 years. I was a partner at a law firm. I was in-house counsel at Apple. And after 15 years in the practice, I felt like the further up I got, the lonelier it felt. And the more senior I got in the practice, the more advisement and sort of collective wisdom I could use. And I also just felt like culture at work needed an investment. When you're in a high performing workplace, when people are just so focused on the client and just so focused on getting the work done, they lose sight of themselves. I lost sight of myself. And so I'm so focused, we jump through hurdles and walls for a client, but just taking that time that I need to sort of gather, get clear, get focused, and think about what's ahead. And so we started Krishtell about 7 years ago. And every single day we are in organizations talking about how we can be better as a culture, better from a leadership perspective, from a growth perspective, from an engagement perspective, from a well-being perspective. And so we talk to organizations about how to be better, and that's pretty much every single day. And then we coach high-performing individuals. We coach them individually and in groups, oftentimes entire teams of high performers that want to really take their team and their organization to the next level.
Love it. I'd like to dive in just real quick. You said you're in organizations every single day to help them get better. Define that a little bit more. What is getting better for them? What are the different areas that they're really focused on with improvement?
Yeah, and the neat thing is they define it. They know in their hearts, they sort of feel and sense that something's not right, and they want to move towards some improvement. They want greater engagement. Some of them want to be better at business growth. Some of them want to be better as a leadership team. They're incredible individual contributors being put into a management position. And now it's really about driving and leading a team, leveraging a team, and growing an organization through motivating and moving other people forward. And so, we're working with several teams right now, and some of them are building more trust in the organization. Some of them are motivating their leaders to be better at leading an entire team. And some of them are thinking, we want to have a collective effort on business growth. We don't want to leave it to less than a handful of people. We want a real team of people engaging and increasing client relationships. And so how do we work on that as a collective? So it just drives a lot of energy into the room. And team success, a lot of it really is rooted in the trust and the level of communication you have with each other. And so oftentimes people go in for individual coaching. It's amazing when we do the individual work, but when we work with teams, it's really like rocket fuel.
Love it. Thank you for diving into that a little bit and defining that for us.
Yeah. So you were in-house counsel for Apple, and you had this big background in legal. What was the spark behind that? Was there a passion behind? Where did that passion root from to go down that avenue?
Yeah, I mentioned I've had sort of two moments that really were game changing. And the first one was when I was a partner at a law firm. I was in a very busy litigation practice. And when I say litigation, representing companies that are battling it out with each other in the courts, over years, and just working around the clock in that work. And at some point, when I became a partner a couple years into that path, I hit this moment. I was at a stage of a case where you're just trying to get all the evidence into the courtroom and into the process. It's called discovery. And at the close of discovery, there's depositions, there's documents, there's conversations and flights going on around the world. And I was in a hotel room, the 5th floor of the Sofitel Hotel in Redwood City. And it was midnight. And I shut my laptop, sitting in the bed, just shut my laptop, about to put it to the side. And the entire left side of my body froze.
Oh,
jeez.
I'm away from home.
Whoa.
It's late at night. And I was in my mid-30s, and I just felt like I'm having my moment. Left side, heart attack, could be a stroke. And it was just very eerie and very scary. Reached for the phone. My emergency contact was my cousin, who's a cardiologist. Woke her up at 3 a.m. on the East Coast. Told her what was going on, and she said, just get to the hospital.
Oh my God.
Got to the hospital and realized that it was not a heart attack. It was not a stroke. It was stress.
Sure.
And I had never had a physical manifestation of stress. Been practicing law for 10 years, working around the clock for a decade. I was fine. Went to the doctor every year. How stressed are you? 0 to 10. And I just say a 12. And I'm like, throw me back in, coach.
Right.
Give me a B12 shot in the arm and I'm ready to go. And I was just ready for it. But at some point, they say the body keeps score. And the body spoke up and it said, slow down. And so at that moment, I wasn't comfortable telling my colleagues that I had this issue. I wasn't in a place I felt like they would see it as a kink in the armor. They'd see it as a weakness to tell folks, hey, I needed to dial it down. So rather than having a conversation with my colleagues and say, hey, could I dial it down? I fled the coast. I reached out to colleagues in the industry. Apple said, we'd love to have you. And so rather than having a dialogue with my colleagues about how I can shift how I work, packed up the bags, packed up the family, and flew out here to California to start a new direction in my career. And so that would be sort of peak moment one, where I actually started to pay attention to myself, even just a little bit, as a high performing professional.
Whew, man, talk about a wake up call.
Yeah. So after
literally,
literally, after you had that physical manifestation of your body going frozen, you go to the doctor, like, hey, it's stress. How long of a period was it until you made that decision of like, I'm done, I can't, I guess I got to move forward? Was it pretty instantaneous? Like, this is the message I needed?
Yeah, I got that sort of the deeper tests from the doctor, and when I was sort of in that machine with everything plugged up, and I'm in my mid-30s, I mean, it was just pretty instant. I definitely didn't know what to do or who to talk to, but I started to put the feelers out. And that was probably, I think, about March or April, if I'm remembering right. It's a long time ago. By August, I had an offer. By August, I had a couple of offers, and I ended up taking the one with Apple and then moving out, starting out here in California by November. And so you can see how fast
Very
I was moving and how diligent I was, and turned the corner, started a new chapter.
No kidding.
Man, yeah, that's wild. We talked to a lot of people that have, something going on in their life, a lot of stress, being overwhelmed, and they don't do anything about it. And that issue continues to compound.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they get hit with something. And that sounds like where you landed, which is, in a way, thankful that it happened to you, right? Because who knows what would happen if you got that warning sign and that it had compounded to that point. Who knows what had happened in a year? Like, it could have been a heart attack or a stroke.
Oh, I know what would have happened
before that happened,
because 10 of my colleagues have already had, by that time, a heart attack or a stroke or the onset of diabetes. When you're litigating at that pace,
I bet.
that level of stress, and you normalize it, then everybody is covering something up. And so I got friends whose eyesight is going because of their diabetes. I got friends who have had a mini stroke. I've had friends who have had a major heart procedure in their 40s and 50s. I'm full of it. If you're a lawyer and you're working that hard, well, then your contact list is full of it. Whether people are talking about it, whether people are doing something about it, I'm not so sure. But luckily, the message came in, and I was interested in listening to the body.
Wow. Thank God you did.
Let's dive into that second peak
moment.
Yes.
I'm
excited.
Storytelling is on point.
The 5 years at Apple, a busy company, certainly stressful being in legal, and yet slept regularly in the evening at night, 6 hours predictable sleep every day, which is not what I could say about firm life. I also dialed into my meditation experience, meditation work, and then my yoga practice. And at about 5 years into my time at Apple, I started to realize that at both of these companies, once I slowed down and started to pay attention, it felt to me like people were going on in their day-to-day, high-performing service professionals, again, ready to dive in for others, ready to dive in for clients, ready to dive in for the company, but then losing sight of themselves, losing sight of each other a little bit, not so comfortable having, we could negotiate deals across the table. We could litigate in a courtroom, but then coming down the hall and talking to a colleague about something that was critical, that would get covered up. Just like myself at the firm, not willing to talk to a colleague about, hey, can I dial down the work, or can I try to do something differently? And so those conversations I felt like were challenging. And then even the more senior I got, the lonelier it felt. And I just felt like that combination of isolation and this inability to have real talk in the workplace, I wanted to change that. I felt like we could be better. I felt like I could be better. And I also just felt like people were just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment when I said, you know what? I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, but this deal work that I'm engaging with in the day, and then thinking about the team in the margins, I wanted to flip it. I wanted to think about the team all the time, and then let someone else handle the deal work. And I couldn't, specifically articulate it, but I knew it was time to go.
Man, it's a big jump. It's a leap of courage there to go after something that you believe in.
Yeah, I can't imagine just the stress of 5 years working for such a large company in the legal space.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how that would probably compound, and I'm sure you have your list of people there that are also having those issues.
Oh, 100%. People going through divorce, people, going through, stress or whatever it might be. Luckily it's a great company. You have physicians on site. And again, every year, 0 to 10, how stressed are you? And when I joined, it went from like a 12 to an 8 because, again, sleeping regularly. But over the 5 years, the stress went down to a 2. And the doctor was like, what are you doing that you're in legal and you have a 2 out of 10 of stress? And to me, just noticing that I had gone through the practices that allowed me to care for myself, the yoga, the meditation, it just made me feel like I want to be supporting the industry with this. I feel like people aren't able to step away from the work, and I did. I took a year off after that. I retrained, I retooled. I trained as a mindfulness instructor. I trained as a yoga instructor, trained as a coach and a speaker. And not everyone has the luxury and the time or even the message that came through that allows them to take that break. And I wanted to double down and now support this industry that really helped kick off my career.
For sure. It sounds like you were able to re-identify who you were.
Yep.
You had this identity of the law firm stuff, and that's all you did. Then you had this identity of legal counsel for Apple. And through that experience, you were able to actually identify you as a human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Re-identify, reshift. It sounds like you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very much.
Been there doing it.
Yep.
All of us.
Always, man. Change is good. Change is good.
So just kind of wanted to dive in a little bit more before we wrap up. What was the evolution, though, of starting Krishtell after that? How did you really lead into that and know that this was the space you needed to be at?
Yeah, again, just realizing that when you get more senior into the practice, it's that time for getting a board of advisors. It's that time for getting the support you need. And I had been talking informally with a couple of friends about this in my transition, and they were the first folks to say, hey, we just love to be your first client. We'd love to just start working with you. And so it started with individuals that were in senior roles that felt like they needed that guidance and advice. And by the way, their careers are skyrocketed. You know, they started with me from the beginning. And it's just been great to see that collective growth for all of us since. Taking on more individuals, got brought into organizations to help, and it evolved. And now we're a much larger team. You know, we're a team of coaches. We're a team of people that really just care about supporting high-performing individuals. And every single day, going into companies, talking about how to be better as a culture, working with individuals and teams, supporting them in their growth trajectory.
Love that. So
that
cool.
is so powerful, man.
Well, before we wrap things up, maybe give us something to leave with the audience that you'd like to really drill home for them. If there's one piece of advice or something actionable.
Yeah, I think with service professionals, again, they're so focused. People that are high-performing service professionals are just so focused on client and client needs. It's really important to think about your own evolution, your own growth. Some people plateau as a service partner or just doing work for somebody else. We support people with business growth. We support people with that autonomy, with the leadership skill, with the boundary setting, and with even just this mindfulness-based approach that we've heard now scores of people, we can't count it on our hands anymore, that have told us, you gave us freedom.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's not a word that I ever felt like I was moving towards in the practice. I certainly meant, hard work or maybe a stable income and a strong team, but just having personal autonomy, personal freedom, the ability to control your life and your outcome and not being subject to somebody else. That level of freedom is what we're in for. You work with us over a long time. We invest in you over a long time, and people's lives change. And I think you both know, and we know through this work, that when you allow for that transformation and you take time to invest in yourself, anything is possible.
Totally, man. Wow, beautiful.
People want to connect with you and get involved. What are the best places to do that?
Krishtell.com, go to our website, and otherwise LinkedIn and a Google search, you'll find us, and we'd love to help. We'd love to support.
Rudhir, thank you so much, man, for jumping on. That was an awesome story. I appreciate your time.
Fantastic, Kyle, Eli. Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. We'll be in touch.
That was an awesome story. Man. We do a lot of episodes.
100% we do.
His story was one of the coolest.
Great energy. Love those two peak moments.
I love it.
And
it just went so well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rudir, the man, he delivered. That was a good story.
Love to get together with him.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Peak Podcast. If you want to hear great guests just like Rudir, make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And we can't wait to have you along on the next episode of the Peak Podcast.
See you guys soon.